Hello everyone, thanks for tuning into today's video. We're going to have a look at the weather for the next week to 10 days for today's video. That will take us around the 22nd of March, and we'll be able to extend out beyond that with the extended GFS and ECM ensembles running around a couple of weeks. Have a look at Beijing Climate Centre for the next 40 days at the end of the video, and that will take us more or less into the middle part of April and beyond. We'll bring you up to date with all of the latest developments stratosphere-wise as well. Of course, we did a video yesterday explaining that we are seeing signs of a very significant warming of the stratosphere over the Arctic and the North Pole next week. We don't know what, if any, impacts that will have on the troposphere yet. We do normally see an end to the polar vortex during the spring, so there will be an end to the polar vortex in the coming weeks. Whether that happens gradually or whether it happens rather dramatically after this warming of stratosphere, that remains to be seen. And of course, if we start to generate some northern blocking as a result of this stratospheric warming through the latter part of March and into April, again, will be the critical factor that will be where the northern blocking sits. So more about all of that in a moment. I'm going to start off with some pictures though. This one was sent through to us by Mark Knish a few days ago. Mark noticed a rainbow just outside his house a few days ago. So there we are, a rainbow on the Wirral. This one was sent through by Philip O'Malley. This is at Ross's Point Bay in the Republic of Ireland. Lovely sunny day there at Ross. I think it's Ross's, could be Rose's, but Ross's Point Bay. I think that is very nice sunny day. Last week. Not sure what day these were taken, but one day last week anyway. Very nice sunny day. A little bit of snow on the mountain tops there, overlooking the bay there. So those ones set through by Philip O'Malley, and then on the comment box at Gaz Weather Vids this morning, Andrew has posted a couple of snow pictures. So yes, had a bit of snow overnight across Scotland. I'm not sure where Andrew is in Scotland. I think he's in the western part of Scotland. But there has been some snow cover in Scotland overnight. So it was overnight. It has been a little bit this morning. Relatively deep sort of dumping of snow there. I mean, it's proper covering, isn't it? So at least 2 or 3 centimetres of snow in the western part of Scotland overnight and through this morning. So yes, there has been a little bit of snow around, again primarily in the northern part of the country. That's been the case over the past few weeks as well. Very little, if any, on low ground in southern England. But up in the north, there has been some snow around during the winter and over the past few weeks. Well, big thanks to everybody for sending their pictures through. If you'd like to have your pictures featured in the videos, all you need to do is share them with us on our social media accounts, Facebook and Twitter as well. You can email them to us at gazoffice@gmail.com or post them in the comment box at gazoffice. And when we get a bit of time, we're happy to feature your pictures in the videos. Big thanks to everybody for doing that. Right, so just bringing you up to date with the latest in terms of what's happening in the stratosphere. This is the latest temperature forecast by the GFS for 10 HPA. 10 HPA is like one of the top levels of the atmosphere and stratosphere. We've got these blue colours. Those are the cold temperatures that we've got, again, somewhere around minus 55 over the Arctic. Cold temperatures in the stratosphere over the North Pole and the Arctic. As we explained yesterday, temperatures are still colder than average at both 10 and 30 HPA. 30 HPA is a little bit low down towards the troposphere. Now, as we go through into next week, so this takes us into the early part of next week, you'll see this warming beginning to appear over the North Atlantic and in towards Greenland. Relatively unusual place to get the warming beginning. Normally they happen over Siberia, but this one is beginning from sort of North America and the Atlantic. And as we go through into the latter stages of next week, we see much warmer temperatures at 10 HPA now. Got these green and yellow colours sitting there over the top of the Arctic. And as we move out beyond that, you'll see that the warming does actually intensify at 10 HPA as we move up towards day 10. So there we are. We see the ray curves beginning to appear there around day 10, 22nd of March. So that is reaching sudden stratospheric warming temperature levels when the ray curves begin to appear. Very significant warming of the stratosphere taking place around day 10 at 10 HPA, and that sort of fades away, but we keep those warm green and yellow colours going then right way through to the end of March. It gets to the 28th of March day with GFS, so those green and yellow colours continue through to the end of the month. The very intense warming, the red colours that we have there around day 10, they can't be sustained very long. But this is a very significant warming of the stratosphere at 10 HPA, and it will ultimately have major repercussions in the troposphere and see an end to this polar vortex that's been dominating throughout the winter. But how quickly that happens and how dramatically that happens remains to be seen. So this is a little bit annoying, all the pages are refreshing, so I'm going to pause the video and I'll quickly go through the tabs and we'll refresh the page and I'll see you back in around 2 seconds time. Right, so we're back, pages and tabs refreshed, so we shouldn't have any more of that going on through the video. So we're looking at the ECMWF next from the University of Berlin. Again, these are the temperatures at 10 HPA, or temperature forecasts at 10 HPA, based on last night's ECMWF midday run. So starting with today, you can see that again at 10 HPA, the ECM is picking up on those cold temperatures that we've got to 10 HPA. Got the blue colours there. Helpfully with these charts, by the way, the North Pole itself is shown up with that black X just there, so they do actually highlight where the actual North Pole is on these charts. So again, we've got those blue colours. That's temperatures around sort of minus 50, minus 55, somewhere in that order. Colder than average, colder than you expect at this point in March. As we move through to the 16th of March, though, 120 hours, we can see that then we are starting to generate this warming. Notice again, warmest colours are over in the North Atlantic, just there, but they are beginning to infiltrate in towards the Arctic of the North Pole itself. And as we move up towards day 10, look at that, very significant warming of the stratosphere being shown by the ECMWF at day 10, with those orange colours appearing over not just the Arctic but the North Pole itself. On the temperature scale, that's taking things up to around minus 15 to minus 20. So again, that is probably just about reaching genuine sudden stratospheric warming temperature levels. Very significant warming of the stratosphere taking place there by the time we get through to the 21st of March, day 10, yesterday, of course. Going lower down to 30 HPA, this is the boundary level of the atmosphere. It's much closer to the troposphere. It is still in the stratosphere, but it's kind of like on the border between the stratosphere and the troposphere. This is how temperatures are looking at 120 hours, 16th of March. So then still very cold temperatures. We explained in yesterday's video, the temperature is still incredibly cold at 30 HPA, far, far below average at 30 HPA. That carries on up to 120 hours out, up to the 16th of March. Those deep blue colours on the temperature scale, that is showing temperature still around minus 60, minus 65, something like that, way below average. However, as we get through to day 10, which is 21st March, was 21st March yesterday, just the first signs that the warming that's going on at 10 HPA is beginning to infiltrate down to 30 HPA. So then, still quite cold actually over the North Pole itself, where we've got that black X, somewhere around minus 50, minus 55 on temperature scale. But just a little bit further east than that, we do see the temperature is starting to lift up to around minus 40 to minus 45. So definite signs that the very significant warming of the temperature at 10 HPA is beginning to have some impacts on 30 HPA, closer to the troposphere by the time we get through to day 10. And this is sending the zonal winds into reverse as well, if the ECMWF forecast is right. Let's close in a little bit then on these charts. So this is showing zonal mean wind and fluxes in 60 degrees north, winter 2019-2020. dealing with 1 HPA. So 1 HPA is right at the very top of the stratosphere. It's as far as you can go to still be within the stratospheric level, really. And we see that where we are right now at 1 HPA is there, still pretty strong zone of wind at 1 HPA. The black line though is the forecast, and zone of winds are going into reverse at 1 HPA as we get through to day 10 as far as we can go. Yes, zone of winds are into reverse. Down here, if I scroll up a little bit, we can also see 10 and 30 HPA, the zone of wind at 10 and 30 HPA. So 10 HPA is the blue line, 30 HPA is the red line. And where we are with zone of winds is just there. 10 HPA still quite strong. 30 HPA zone of wind is just there again, still quite strong. The ECM forecast though is taking the zone of winds at 10 HPA, this black dashed line just here, taking it into reverse, just about getting a reversal of the zone of winds, or actually not quite a reversal of zone of winds actually. So to reverse zone of winds, we would need to go down to this 0 line just here. Actually, so falling some way short of reversal of zone of winds at both 10 and 30 HPA. Good job I looked at that, isn't it? So yes, falling just some way short of a reversal of zone of winds at both 10 and 30 HPA by day 10. Quite a reduction of zone of winds, though, particularly at 10 HPA from that level there to be down here. But to get a reversal, we would need to go to this 0 line. Just there. So not quite a reversal of zone of winds at 10 or 30 HPA, but definitely a reduction of zone of winds at 10 and 30 HPA, a deceleration, quite dramatic deceleration of zone of winds. And of course, we'll be looking to see whether the zone of winds do go into reverse in the days beyond day 10. Eventually, the zone of winds will go into reverse anyway, because they always do when you get through the spring and into the summer. That's cyclical, but and it normally happens very gradually. But we will be looking to see whether we get a reversal of zone of winds as we go in the days beyond sort of day 10. So quite interesting developments, stratosphere-wise. Of course, we are very late on into the season now. We're into spring. So what could be the impacts of this is either just a very gradual sort of death of the polar vortex, and it just gradually fades away as we go through the spring. That will happen anyway, even without any sort of sudden stratospheric warming. That will happen as we go through the spring. The temperature naturally lifts up in both the stratosphere and also down on the surface too. Alternatively, this could all lead to northern blocking, and if we start to generate northern blocking as we go into April, then we may start to get some colder weather through April. And it could get quite unpleasant. I mean, we could start to see low pressure setting up underneath a block. That will lead us into a cold, wet pattern, potentially through April and into May. So that all remains to be seen. That's for much further down the line. At the moment, we're just focusing on what's happening with this major warming of stratosphere. And of course, we'll be keeping you updated over the next few days. Right, so these are the 500 millibar hydrogen anomaly flowcharts from the Penn State University for the next week to 10 days. We've got the ECMWF on the top, and the GFS, which we'll have a look in a moment, is on the bottom. So 500 millibars is an area in the absolute high pressure and low pressure being moved around by the jet stream. Orange and red extrapolates high pressure, blue to low pressure. You can see that within the week to 10 day time frame, the ECMWF has this nice ridge of high pressure covering much of the North Atlantic. So the storyline in the more immediate time frame, like in the next week 10 days, is what we've been talking about in the videos a lot over the past week or so, which is high pressure becoming increasingly influential for the second half of March. So it does look as though we've got much more of an anticyclonic signal here. Low pressure and the jet stream being pushed northwards certainly looks a lot drier and potentially quite pleasantly mild as well, I would have thought. The GFS is very similar. Again, low pressure is up to the north with the jet stream. High pressure is covering much of northern Europe, including the UK, but jet streams being pushed northwards as well. A big change in the weather, and yes, we are going into much drier conditions into the second half of March, and hopefully some proper spring-like weather as well. These are the GFS upper air temperature and precipitation ensembles for the next couple of weeks. The red line is a 30-year upper air temperature average. Looking at London today, so a bit cold at the moment actually, but temperatures will lift up over the weekend and then fall back a bit, and then they'll lift up again through the early part of next week before probably dropping back once more through the second half of next week. Beyond that, into the extended range, taking us into the last week of March, a lot of scatter. So we can't rule out these ensemble members down here, which are quite cold. They're probably bringing in easterly winds. There is the idea within some of the GFS output at the moment to pull in cold easterly winds. However, several of these ensemble members are keeping things mild and spring-like. What we can say, though, is that we have a strong drying trend. Look at this. It's perhaps one of the driest GFS ensemble graphs that we've seen for a very long time. We have got some rainfall coming up over the weekend into the early part of next week. Few showers here and there as well, but generally this is a much drier ensemble graph than we've seen for a very long time. So particularly for more southern and eastern parts of the country, it does look as though things are really drying out through the second half of March at long last. Temperature anomalies from the 12th to the 20th of March, near normal, bit below average in the north, perhaps a little bit above average in the south. It's not a big deviation either way. Precipitation anomalies looking drier than average, particularly for England and Wales. Still a little bit wetter than average for western parts of Scotland, but looks like generally all areas are trending drier in the week ahead. That's how the 6 o'clock GFS run is looking for Sunday. So still unsettled on Sunday. Low pressure is still with us into the middle of March, bringing more rain. Early part of next week, we start to get some high pressure going down in the south. That will bring drier weather to England and Wales. Probably still rather showery for Scotland and for Northern Ireland up to the middle part of next week. And then the high pressure sets up properly in the second half next week. This is Friday next week, 20th of March. We are then under a 1040 millibar area of high pressure. So a big ridge of high pressure sets up over the top of the country. And as we get to day 10, that high pressure sits there, dominating the weather. Obviously, this is a big pattern change on what we've had over the past few weeks and months. Much drier conditions and hopefully quite spring-like as well. I imagine that could be a little bit on the cold side by night, probably with night frost, maybe even with 1 or 2 fog patches. But by day, in the March sunshine, getting ever stronger. We should see reasonably pleasantly mild or even warmish days, probably seeing temperatures into the mid-teens Celsius with that, I would have thought. And this just goes on into the extended range as well. So no sort of easterly on this particular GFS run into the last week of March. Just try to get itself up towards Scandinavia, but it's more or less sitting over top of the country, this ridge. So by the very end of it, which is 28th of March, we're perhaps bringing in a little bit of an east-southeasterly flow, but even then the real story is on dry weather, I think. Even into the last week of March, the emphasis will be on drier weather, much drier weather, and hopefully relatively spring-like as well, although this sort of east-southeasterly could be quite cold, but it's very extended range and it's 2 weeks away. So high and dry really for the sort of last week to 10 days of March. This is how the GM is looking. So again, quite unsettled on Sunday into early next week. Ridging begins to take place, especially for England and Wales. Always more unsettled Scotland and Northern Ireland. Pleasantly mild, I would have thought, through next week as well. Moving up towards day 10, the GM then has high pressure in control. It is moving towards Scandinavia. Looks like he's going to have a go at putting in a cold easterly wind. But again, the main story with that is much drier weather. And then the ECM looks like this, rather unsettled still on Sunday. Once that low gets out of the way, then we start to get some higher pressure going in the south. By Tuesday, still unsettled further north. And then moving up towards day 10. Saw it on the 500 millibar high anomaly flow charts. High pressure becomes increasingly influential, settling things down, turning us much drier. Could be a bit on the chilly side, particularly at night. Some night frost possible in the March sunshine by day 10, which is 22nd of March. I would have thought pleasantly mild spring-like days, but possibly a little bit on the chilly side by night. But the main story again is one of high pressure and much drier conditions. These are the options on the table within the ECM ensembles today. For day 10 from the Icelandic Met Office, it gets us to the 22nd excuse me, gets us to the 22nd of March. I have 19 members of the ECM ensembles with high pressure centred over top the country. So obviously that's going to be mainly dry. 12 have the high pressure more towards Scandinavia, bringing in a little bit more of an easterly flow with that. Could be a little bit colder, but should be a lot of dry weather on offer. 10 with the high pressure ridging through the country, but also going north. Just a bit of a gentle sort of east-northeasterly drift with that. But again, the emphasis is on dry weather. And then 10 setting up high pressure over to the east of the country. And a bit of an easterly, that could be a rather cold option. All roads are pointing towards high pressure at day 10. They are all options. All 51 out of 51 are pointing towards high pressure in control by day 10. So much drier by day 10. The only question mark is in terms of where the high pressure exactly sits and what the temperature is doing and what wind direction is doing. In 2 weeks' time, these are the options that we've got. This is 27th of March. 17 members of the ECM ensembles then with a proper Scandinavian high and an easterly wind, so they could be ending March on quite a cold note. 13 with the ridge being pulled out to our west, the mid-Atlantic ridge, trough of low pressure to our east. Maybe a bit showery with those and probably bringing in some quite cold northerlies. 11 with high pressure, more or less over coast, just a little bit to the north. The easterly with that is probably more across France. Again, emphasis with that is on dry conditions. And then 10 with the high pressure sitting over and just to the east of the country. That could be the mildest option, actually. That could be bringing up the wind like from a southerly to southeasterly direction. Maybe a proper taste of spring with that. And again, the emphasis is on dry weather. Finally, the Beijing Climate Centre is looking like this for the next 40 days. So these are 500 millibar heights broken down into 10-day periods. The first 10-day period will take us from the 11th to the 20th of March. The coming 10 days looks cool and unsettled with low pressure to the northwest and bringing this northwesterly wind. So we've already established that up to like the early part of next week anyway, we're looking quite unsettled, and it does take a little while through next week to build up the ridge of high pressure. So as an anomaly for the 10-day period, it is a bit on the cool and unsettled side. However, by the next 10 days, all change. This is the 21st to the 30th of March, and then of course we've got this big area of above average heights, high pressure sitting right over top of the country, low pressure's being pushed northwards with the jet stream, so high pressure takes over and turns us dry into the last sort of 10 days or so of March. The next 10-day period, the high pressure is still dominating the weather, this time sitting just out to our west. So it could be a little bit on the cooler side with that, maybe bringing in winds like west-northwesterly, but overall still a lot of dry weather to enjoy through the first 10 days of April. That's the 31st of March to the 9th of April, not sure if I said that. And then the last 10-day period, which is the 10th to the 19th of April, has the above average heights to our north then. So maybe hinting at slight northern blocking there with below average heights to the southwest. You'll think the wind is probably coming in from the east. I mean, there's nothing too alarming going on there, but what we would have to watch out for if the high pressure goes any further north, if the high goes to that sort of area, for example, then this low pressure could deepen underneath it, and that could set us up into quite a cold and wet pattern as we go further on into April. As it is, the emphasis is still on mostly dry weather there, just signs that the high, the ridge, is beginning to drift further north the further on into April we go, which of course could be associated with the stratospheric warming that we started the video off talking about. Right, so that's it for your videos for today. So basically, we're keeping an eye on the stratospheric warming. That's the large picture and the long-term picture, see what's going on with that. And then shorter term, of course, we're focusing on much drier weather, as been explained in the videos over the past week. Pattern change for the second half of March, after a very unsettled first half of the month. High pressure, much more in the ascendancy the second half of March. And it looks like we could be going high and dry for the last week to 10 days of the month. Right, so that's it for the video for today. Now, tomorrow, I've got a very busy morning, tomorrow morning. I'm hoping that I'll be able to get JMA Friday and the week to 10-day video update done for you tomorrow afternoon. but I won't know until I'm sort of home. You see what I mean? What time I'm going to get home. So yes, it could be a little bit late with tomorrow's videos. We may have to postpone one of those. I'll definitely try and get JMA Friday done. The week to 10 day update may have to be put on the back burner or something. But keep an eye on the Gals Service Twitter page, and when I'm back home, I'll let you know what's happening in terms of the videos. But certainly there'll be at least one video tomorrow. And that'll be in the afternoon, perhaps a little bit late on in the afternoon. Right then, so that's all for now though, and thanks for watching.